Alright, what's up folks? In this video we're going to code a simple calculator, and what that means is that if we go to the top, it's only going to work with two inputs, so the user can only input two numbers. It's going to perform the following functions: multiply, divide, subtract, add, and exponentiation, of which I'll explain later. You'll probably already know what it means. It's to the power of, but you'll see that later. It's then going to print the results and then round the output to two decimal places. Alright, so we're going to start off with the necessary module. I mean, this isn't needed. You can always use this double asterisk for exponentiation, which simply returns x to the power y. Okay, but we're going to use the math module and a function called pow. Okay, so import math is m. Okay, and now we're going to have the user input a value. User value, or we'll just call that num1. And it's going to be a float data type. Okay, and then we're going to have num2. I'll actually just do this. Okay, but first off we start off with a symbol. Okay, so and what this simply means is that the user is going to input their symbol, whether they're going to subtract, multiply, divide, etc. So we're going to put that in as well. Multiply, divide. What else is there? Subtract, add, and exponentiation. So to the power of, and we just put two asterisks. Okay. Right. So now we're going to create a conditional. In fact, what we're going to do is now we're going to create a function that's going to perform the calculation. Okay. And we're going to pass through it the values of the user. So we're going to pass through it num1, num2, and the symbol that the user inputs. And the way in which it's going to work is that if the user inputs the multiplication symbol, it will then multiply num1 and num2. Alright. So if symbol is equal to multiplication num1, we'll say formula 1 is equal to num1 multiplied by num2, and then we're going to return formula 1. Okay, else if the symbol is equal to divide, then formula 2 is going to be num1 divided by num2, and then we're going to return that value, so return formula 2. Okay, so let's just copy this and then add in all the other necessary changes. Alright, so there's that. So we're going to subtract. If the user symbol is subtract, then it's num1 minus num2. We're going to call this formula 3, and then we're going to return formula 3. And then we're going to repeat this process for adding. Then I'm going to explain the exponentiation part using the math module we used up top here. We imported at the top. In fact, we'll just say else, meaning that if the user inputs a multiplication, then do the following. If they input the divide symbol, do the following. If they input the subtract and the add, do the following, and then return the answer. Otherwise, if they input this double asterisk, which is encapsulated as an else conditional statement, then what we want to do is import the math module, and we start off by calling it with the reference string that we use here. So that's just m.pow. Pow is the function or the method we're calling from the math module, and we're going to return num1. Whoa, num1. There you go. To the power of num2. Oh, and if you didn't catch that, what the pow function does is that it returns x to the power y, kind of like what I put up here, and you'll see it work later on. Okay, so num1, num2, and this is formula 5. Okie dokie. And perhaps it would have been logical. In fact, no, that's okay. So now that we've got the symbol that the user is going to input, the two numbers that they're going to work with, we're now going to output the results. So output results. Let's just label what each part is. This is the user input section, and it comprises of the symbol, calculation symbol, and two values, num1 and num2. Alright. And then this is a function that performs the calculation. And then we're going to output the results. So print num1, so the initial value they put in. And then we're going to put the symbol. And then num2. Okay. Is equal to, and then we're going to put these curly braces in here and use the format. So dot format function, and then we're going to round the output, call for the function we created up here, which is calc, and we're going to pass through num1, num2, okay, and the symbol. Then we're going to go outside of that bracket and then round that value to 2 decimal places, and that should be that. So num1 symbol num2, which simply means, let's say they input 10 over here and 2 over here, and then they had input the divide symbol. It simply will say, when we output the results, 10, which is num1, divided by the symbol 2, and then we should get 5 over there. And it will still say rounded to 2 decimal places, although that's not needed. There's no rounding necessary. It's just so that we can capture values that do require rounding. Okay, it goes that to 2. We'll just put d.p. Okay. And that's that. So let's run this and see what it's going to look like. Let's change the appearance. Zen mode. That's bad. So we're going to start off with a simple divide, and we're going to divide 12.6 by 3.5. Okie dokie. So we now have an error here, and it's simply saying that name error calc is not defined. Oh, it's a spelling error. CLAC, over here it's CALC for calc. So let's just solve that. Calc. And let's just create a space there. Right, so let's clear that, run it again. Going back to the top and run Python file in terminal. Oh, there's another error, num1, of course. As you can see here, there's no underscore. There you go. It's very rare that you'll run your code the first time around without any bugs, but as you practice, you'll get better at it. So hopefully this is the final attempt. We're going to divide. Let's keep it simple. 12 divided by 4. It says 12 divided by 4 is 3.0 to 2 dp, which makes sense. And let's try something more difficult. Let's use some decimal points, and we're going to say 101. Oh, sorry, input the symbol first. We're going to multiply it. We're going to say 101 multiplied by pi, so 3.14, and that's your answer. Now, exponentiation. So to the m.pow function that we had created earlier on. Oh, there you go. Right, now let's see what that's going to output. So we're going to use exponentiation. We're going to say 10 to the power 2, which simply means 10 multiplied by 10, or 10 multiplied by itself 2 times. Okay, so it'll be 10 by 10, which is 100. Now let's say we add a decimal figure to that, so 3.14, and we round our answer, so we say 12.45 to the power of 3.14, and you'll get 2,746.83. So that's that. Alright, I'm pretty sure you get the concept of how this calculator works, and as well as how we've created this function that performs the calculation. If you don't, a book I recommend is Automate the Boring Stuff with Python. It's got lots of really helpful material, for a beginner, and it's beginner friendly. Now, I've got a challenge for you guys, for those of you who want to develop this calculator even further. So, can you allow the user to input or to work with an infinite number of value inputs, right? So in this example, we started off with just having num1 and num2, but what if the user wants to multiply several different numbers, for instance? Okay, so let's see if you guys can edit that, as well as allow the user to perform multiple functions along the same line. So rather than just saying 12 divided by 2 and then getting the output, it could be 12 divided by 2 multiplied by 7. So can you guys do that as well? And then can you allow the user to choose whether to round their value within a range of 1 to 5 decimal places. So in this example, we round to 2 decimal places, but we want to increase that range to 1 to 5 and let the user have the power of choice as to whether or not they can round their output value. And aside from that, in fact, let's add in one more challenge. So number 4, can you add the square root calculation? So for example, when the user enters their symbol for calculation, we also want them to be able to add in SQ for square root, for example. Okay, and let's say if you have like 81, find the square root of 81, be like SQ 81, and we all know that to be 9. Okay, so let's see if you guys can do that, and peace. Hey, give me